The blue light filled every screen across human space at exactly the same moment. On mining stations, colony ships, orbital platforms, and planetary settlements, people stopped what they were doing as the alien message began to play. Commander. Kim Jae stood on the bridge of Station Phoenix, floating high above the Korean colony world of New Seoul. The planet below sparkled with city lights, but his attention was fixed on the shimmering hologram that had appeared without warning in his command center. The voice that spoke was unlike anything he had ever heard. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, a strange mixture of sounds that his universal translator worked hard to convert into words he could understand. "People of Terra," the voice said, and Kim Jae felt his blood run cold. No one outside. Earth's government was supposed to know their old name for the homeworld. The Hegemony Coalition has watched your species for 3 of your years. You have spread too many worlds without asking. You have taken what was not given. You have not proven that you deserve to live among the civilized races of the galaxy. Captain Lee Sung-ho, Kim Jae's second-in-command, leaned forward in his chair. His face showed no emotion, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the armrests. Behind them, Lieutenant Park Minna started recording everything, her fingers dancing. Across her control panel, the alien message continued, and with each word, the situation became more serious. You will have one chance to show that humanity belongs in this galaxy. There is a world we call Cathara Prime. You have 7 of your solar years to make this world livable, using only the simple tools your ancestors used. No advanced technology. No help from other species. Succeed, and you may continue to exist. Fail, and your species will be removed from the galaxy. The hologram flickered and died, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Kim Jae turned to his communications officer. "Send everything we just recorded to Earth Command. Use the emergency channels. Mark it Priority Alpha and send it now." The young officer's hand shook as he worked. "Yes, sir. Transmission away." Mina looked up from her station, her face pale but determined. "Sir, they included data files with the message. I'm looking at the information about Cathara Prime now." She paused, reading through the alien data. "Sir, this world is? It's a nightmare. The air is poisoned to humans. The weather includes storms that could level cities. The wildlife includes creatures that hunt in packs and can dissolve metal with their saliva." Kim Jae walked over to look at her screen. The planet that appeared looked like something from humanity's worst nightmares. Red skies swirled with violent clouds, and the surface was covered in twisted rock formations and dark forests that seemed to move on their own. "How many species have tried this challenge before?" he asked. Min-Dash's fingers flew over her controls. As she searched through the data, according to this, 12 different alien races have attempted to colonize Cathara Prime over the past 1,000 years. All of them failed. Most died within the first year. Lee Sung-ho stood up slowly, a grim smile spreading across his weathered face. "What do they think? They're giving us an impossible task." Kim Jae looked at his old friend and commanding officer. "Aren't they?" Lee Sung-ho walked to the main viewing window and looked down at New Seoul. The planet below was a testament to human determination. When the first colonists had arrived, it had been a frozen wasteland. Now it supported 3 million people and produced enough food to supply 5 other worlds. "Maybe they are trying to kill us," he said finally. "Or maybe they just don't understand what humans are capable of when we work together." Mina looked up from her station again. "Sir, I'm getting reports from colonies across human space. Everyone received the same message at the same time. Earth Command is requesting immediate conference calls with all sector commanders." Nodded, "Set it up, and Mina, start pulling together everything we know about extreme environment colonization. If we're going to do this, we'll need every advantage we can get." As his crew began working, Kim Jae found himself thinking about humanity's history. Every time someone had told humans that something was impossible, they had found a way to prove them wrong. They had survived ice ages and plagues, crossed oceans in wooden boats, and eventually reached for the stars themselves. The aliens who had issued this challenge probably thought they were being clever. They had looked at humanity's expansion into space and decided that these newcomers needed to be put in their place or eliminated entirely. They had chosen a world so hostile that no previous civilization had been able to tame it. But Kim Jae suspected they had made a critical error in their planning. They were thinking like the advanced civilizations. They represented species that had grown dependent on their technology and had forgotten how to adapt and overcome through pure determination. In cooperation, humans, on the other hand, had never forgotten those skills. They had carried them from the caves of prehistoric Earth to the stars. Themselves, as the first emergency conference calls began coming in from Earth, Kim Jae allowed himself a small smile. The aliens thought they had set a trap, but Kim Jae was beginning to suspect they had actually issued a challenge. And if there was one thing humans had always been good at, it was rising to meet impossible challenges. The next 7 years were going to be very interesting indeed. The transport ship Hansel drifted through space like a small city made of metal and hope. 3 months had passed since the alien message, and Earth had responded in a way that surprised everyone, including the humans themselves. Dr. Choi Hyjin walked through the cargo bay, checking on the thousands of containers that held their future. Each box was carefully labeled and contained seeds, tools, or equipment that would help them survive on the deadly world of Kithara Prime. Her husband, Nam Du-hyun, followed behind her with a tablet in his hands, making sure everything was accounted for. "Are you really sure about these seeds?" Du-hyun asked, stopping beside a container marked with strange symbols. "The alien data says the soil on Kithara Prime is full of chemicals that kill most plants." Hyjin smiled and patted the container gently. "That's exactly why I chose these varieties. The other alien species that tried this challenge brought plants from their home worlds and tried to force them to grow in alien soil. We're doing something different." Du-hyun looked confused. "What do you mean?" "We're bringing plants that can adapt and change. These seeds come from places on Earth where nothing should be able to grow. Deserts, frozen mountains, places with poisonous soil. If any plants can learn to work with Kithara Prime instead of fighting it, these can." Several decks above them, 16-year-old Yu Min-jin pressed his nose against the observation window, watching the stars. But he wasn't looking at the distant suns. His attention was focused on the strange ships that had been following them for weeks. "Dad, why do those alien ships keep following us?" he asked. His father, Professor Yu Tae-won, joined him at the window. The older man adjusted his glasses and looked at the sleek vessels that maintained a careful distance from their convoy. "They want to watch us die, son. According to their records, 12 different alien species have tried to survive. On Kithara Prime, all of them failed and most died horrible deaths." Min-jun shivered. "Then why are we going?" Professor Yu smiled and put his hand on his son's shoulder. "Because we see this challenge differently than they do. The aliens who failed before us tried to conquer Kithara Prime. They wanted to force the planet to become like their home worlds. We're going to try something else." "What's that?" "We're going to try to understand it. Instead of fighting the planet, we're going to learn how to work with it. We're going to become part of it and let it become part of us." Min-jun looked back at the alien ships. "Do you think that will work?" "I don't know," his father admitted. "But I know that humans have always been good at adapting to new places. Our ancestors survived ice ages and droughts, learned to live in deserts and on frozen islands. We've always been able to change when we needed to." Far above them, on the bridge of the alien observation ship called Dominion's Edge, a very different conversation was taking place. The ship's crew came from 3 different species, all working together to monitor the human convoy. Science Officer Vorth, whose body was made of living crystal that caught and reflected light, stared at his screens in confusion. "Commander, I don't understand what I'm seeing." "The humans are bringing children with them. Lots of children." Commander Zelton turned all 4 of his eyes toward the display. "Children, to a death world." "Yes, sir, and elderly people too." According to the passenger manifest, they have musicians, artists, teachers, and even some people whose job is just to tell stories. The ship's navigation officer, a being called Kirani, who looked like she was made of flowing water, made a sound, like wind chimes laughing. Perhaps the humans don't understand how dangerous this challenge is. Vorth's crystal body flashed different colors as he thought. I don't think that's it. Their scientists and engineers clearly understand the risks. They've spent months studying every detail of Cathara Prime. They know exactly how dangerous it is. Commander Zelton's skin changed from blue to deep purple, which showed he was confused. Then why bring non-essential personnel? Why risk the lives of their young and old? Kirani moved closer to the viewing screen, her liquid form rippling with thought. What if we're the ones who don't understand? What if what we call non-essential they call essential? What do you mean, Vorth asked. Every species that tried. This challenge before sent their best soldiers and scientists. It sent people whose job was to fight and conquer. But the humans are sending families. They're sending people whose job is to build communities, to teach children, to create beauty, to remember the past and dream about the future. Commander Zelton was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. You think they're not planning to conquer Cathara Prime? I think they're planning to make it their home, Kirani said softly. Back on the Hansal, Dr. Hajin finished her inspection and found her husband waiting for her. Everything looks good, she told him. We have enough seeds to try 100. Different approaches to farming. If one type doesn't work, we'll try another. Duhayan smiled. And if none of them work, then we'll create new ones. That's what humans do, isn't it? We adapt. We change. We find a way to survive and thrive no matter where we are. As the Hansal continued its journey toward Cathara Prime, both the humans aboard and the aliens watching began to realize that this challenge might not go the way anyone expected. The morning sun of Cathara Prime cast strange purple shadows across the settlement of New Busan as Oh Jinwoo walked into the community center for the daily briefing. 6 months had passed since the first humans landed on this world that everyone said was impossible to survive on. And somehow these meetings had become as normal as breakfast. Oh Jinwoo looked around the room at the faces of his team, leaders. They were dirty, tired, and happy in a way that surprised him every day. Let's start with the farms, he said. Soyoung, how are our crops doing? Shin Soyoung stood up, brushing dirt off her work clothes. Her hands were stained green from working with the strange plants that grew on Cathara Prime, but her smile was bright. Jinwoo, you're not going to believe this, but our earth plants are actually doing better than we hoped. Remember how we planted them next to the native root systems instead of clearing them away? Yes, that was your idea. The other species always cleared everything first. Well, it turns out the alien roots are helping our plants. They're sharing nutrients and protecting our crops from the acid rain. The corn we planted is growing twice as fast as it should, and the potatoes are bigger than any we've seen on Earth. We're going to have extra food next month. Ow! Ginwoo felt a warm feeling in his chest. Extra food meant they were truly succeeding. That's wonderful news. Hyenwoo. What about the dangerous animals? Kong Hyenwoo, the settlement's youngest scientist, practically bounced to his feet. Oh, this is the best part. Remember those big wolf-like creatures we were so worried about? The ones with 6 legs and the howling calls? The ones that killed 3 alien survey teams? Those are the ones? Well, we call them Kyrthans now, and they're actually incredibly smart. Instead of fighting them, we started leaving food for them. Not just any food, but processed pellets that help them digest better. In return, they've started hunting the really dangerous creatures for us. Oh Jinwoo raised his eyebrows. They're hunting for us? The acid-spitting lizards that used to attack our workers? The Kyrthines hunt them now and leave the bodies at the edge of our settlement. Attacks on our people have dropped by 90%. From across the room, Im Suben, who taught the settlement's children, started laughing. And that's not even the best part. The Kyrthans have different howls for different types of weather. My students have learned to understand them. Yesterday, little Minho heard the storm warning howl and told us a big storm was coming to hours before our weather equipment detected it. Oh Jinwoo shook his head in amazement. So the children are learning to talk to alien wolves? In a way, yes. Kids pick up the sounds faster than the adults do. It's like learning a new language for them. At the back of the room, Bei Junho raised his hand. He was in charge of building the structures that kept them safe from Cathara Prime's violent weather. Speaking of storms, last week's big one was incredible. The wind speeds reached over 200 kilometers per hour, and the rain was so acidic it could dissolve metal. Did our buildings hold up? Junho grinned. Better than hold up? Remember how we built the support beams using those crystal formations we found growing everywhere? Well, it turns out that when pressure is applied to them, they actually get stronger. The storm made our buildings more solid, not weaker. Jinwoo looked around the room at his people. So we're making friends with the local predators. Our crops are growing better than expected, and our buildings get stronger during storms. Han Jin, what about the air we're breathing? Environmental engineer Han Jin looked up from her tablet, her eyes bright with excitement. Jinwoo, we need to stop calling what we're doing terraforming. That word means changing a planet to be like Earth. What we're actually doing is much more interesting. What would you call it? Collaboration. We're not trying to make Cathera Prime breathe like Earth. Instead, we're using the native organisms that already clean the air, and we're helping them work better. We've created a system where human waste feeds native bacteria, which produce cleaner air, which helps both us and the local wildlife. Jinwoo sat down heavily in his chair. So in 6 months, we've not only survived on a world that killed every other species that tried to live here, but we're actually thriving. More than thriving, Soyoung said quietly. We're becoming part of this world, and it's becoming part of us. High above the settlement, in the hegemony observation station called Watchful Gaze, alien observers watched and recorded everything. The station's crew was having their own meeting, and it was not going nearly as well as the human one below. This is completely impossible, Tactical Officer Moran insisted, his scales shifting from blue to angry red. Every piece of data Heb says that no species can integrate with Caethera Prime's ecosystem. The planet kills everything that tries to live there. Chief Observer Thelvin, whose body looked like a tree made of silver metal, moved his tentacle-like branches thoughtfully. Perhaps the problem was not with the planet, but with the approach. Every species before the humans tried to replace what was already there. The humans are working with what they found. Communications Officer Quinn, who resembled a floating jellyfish, made of light, pulsed nervously. The Hegemony Council designed this challenge to eliminate humanity. They will not be happy to learn that we have accidentally proven that humans are better at colonization than any of our member species. Delvin was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke slowly. What if we have been asking the wrong question all along? What if this challenge was never really about testing humanity? What if it was about testing whether we ourselves understand what it truly takes to thrive among the stars? The Great Chamber on Nexus Prime had never seen an emergency meeting like this one. Representatives from 12 different alien species appeared as shimmering holograms around the massive circular table, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes in the dim light. Prime. Observer Kethmer stood at the center of the chamber, his tall, thin body casting long shadows as he delivered his report. His voice carried the weight of someone who had witnessed something that should have been impossible. Council members, he began, I must report that the human settlement on Cathara Prime has not only survived their first 6 months, but has achieved something we have never seen before in galactic history. Council Speaker Morthok, whose reptilian form was covered in scales that normally showed a calm blue color, felt those scales beginning to shift toward red. Explain. They have successfully integrated with the planet's ecosystem. Their population is growing. Their food production exceeds their needs. The native wildlife has become their allies rather than their enemies. And most disturbing of all, they appear to be happy. The scales on Morthok's body turned a deeper shade of red. This is not possible. The challenge was specifically designed to be impossible. We chose Cathera Prime because nothing can survive there. From across the chamber, Representative Velanara of the Crystalline Consortium spoke up. Her body was made of living crystal that caught and reflected the chamber's lights. Perhaps, honored speaker, the challenge has revealed something we did not expect to learn. What do you mean? Perhaps it has shown us our own limitations rather than theirs. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Different species made different noises when upset. Some hissed, others clicked, and a few made sounds like breaking glass. but all of them were clearly disturbed by what they were hearing. On the great screens that surrounded the chamber, live images from Kythera Prime played continuously. The council members could see human children playing games with six-legged creatures that had once been considered deadly predators. They could see alien plants and earth plants growing side by side in perfect harmony. They could see storms that had once destroyed everything in their path, now being used to power the growing human settlements. Representative Zorpak, whose species had joined the hegemony only 50 years ago, raised one of his forearms to speak. Council members, I must share something that brings me great shame.
Oh, my people
Have attempted to colonize 17 different worlds in the past 100 years. We have failed on 14 of them, despite having access to the most advanced technology. In the galaxy, the chamber grew quiet as he continued. These humans, using tools that we would consider primitive, have succeeded in 6 months on a world where we would not have lasted 6 days. Science advisor Luxandra, who looked like a floating cloud of silver gas, drifted closer to the center of the chamber. With respect, Representative Zorpak, I believe you are misunderstanding what we are seeing. The humans are not using primitive technology. They are using primitive tools combined with very advanced thinking. What do you mean? Asked Morthok. They observe before they act. They adapt to what they find, instead of trying to force change. They work together in ways that we have forgotten how to do. Most importantly, they treat every problem as a puzzle, to be solved, not as an enemy to be defeated. Representative Velinara's crystal body flashed with different colors as she processed this information. You are saying that their strength is not in their tools, but in their approach to problems. Exactly. We have become so dependent on our advanced technology that we have lost the ability to think creatively. When we encounter a problem, we try to overpower it with better weapons or more complex machines. The humans look for ways to work with the problem instead of against it. Council Speaker Mortho's voice became dangerous and low. Are you suggesting that these primitive humans are somehow superior to the hegemony? The chamber fell silent. This was the question that everyone had been thinking, but no one had dared to speak aloud. Finally, Valenera spoke carefully. I am suggesting that perhaps we have something to learn from them. The silence that followed was deafening. On the screens around them, the images from Kythera Prime continued to play. They showed a thriving human settlement where there should have been only death and failure. They showed cooperation where there should have been conflict. They showed growth where there should have been destruction. In the background, a steady stream of reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. Reports of the human success were spreading, and other species were taking notice. An aide approached Council Speaker Morthok and whispered something in his ear. The speaker's scales, which had been dark red with anger, suddenly turned deep purple, the color that his species displayed when they were afraid. What is it? Demanded Velinara. Morthok's voice was barely a whisper.
We are receiving formal requests from 3 of our member species.
They want to send observer teams to Kythera Prime to study human colonization techniques. The implications of this statement hit the chamber like a physical blow. If hegemony member species were asking to learn from humans, it meant they believed humans were better at something than they were. It meant the challenge had backfired completely. Furthermore, the aide continued, we are receiving preliminary inquiries from 6 additional species about the possibility of establishing diplomatic relations with Earth directly. Bypassing the hegemony entirely, Representative Zorpak spoke into the stunned silence. It appears that our attempt to eliminate humanity has instead demonstrated that they may be more capable of galactic leadership than we are. Council Speaker Morthok stared at the images from Kythera Prime, his purple scales reflecting the light from the screens. The tests they had designed to prove human weakness had instead revealed their own. 7 years had passed since the alien ultimatum, and Ambassador Lim Jahan walked into the Galactic Assembly Chamber with steady steps. A massive room that had once seemed so frightening and overwhelming now looked like any other meeting hall to him. He had learned that impressive architecture could not hide weak thinking. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the chamber, various forms creating a sea of colors and shapes. Some floated, Others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as clouds of energy held together by force fields. But all of them were watching him with intense curiosity. Honored representatives of the galaxy, Jaehyun began, his voice clear and confident. I stand before you today to thank the Hegemony Coalition for giving humanity such a wonderful opportunity. A wave of confused sounds rippled through the chamber. The word opportunity was not what anyone had expected to hear. Jaehyun activated the holographic display system. Suddenly the chamber filled with images from Cathara Prime. But these were not the images of death and destruction that everyone expected. Instead, they showed a thriving world that looked like a perfect blend of Earth and alien life. Cities rose from the landscape like living trees, their buildings grown rather than built. Gardens bloomed with plants that had never existed before. Earth flowers growing alongside alien vines, creating colors that no single world had ever produced. Children played in parks where Earth animals and alien creatures lived together peacefully. As you can see, Jaehyun continued, we have successfully colonized Cathara Prime using only the simple tools you required. But more importantly, we have learned something valuable about what it means to truly succeed on a new world. He paused, looking around the chamber at the alien faces. Success does not come from conquering a planet. It comes from understanding it, working with it, and becoming part of it. Council Speaker Morthok, his scales shifting between colors as his emotions changed, interrupted the presentation. The challenge is finished. Humanity has ... completed the task. You have proven your right to exist in this sector of space. Jaehyun smiled. And there was something in that smile that made many of the alien representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. With great respect, honored speaker, I think you have misunderstood our situation. We were never asking for your permission to exist. The chamber fell into complete silence. Even the translation devices seemed to pause as they processed this unexpected statement. You see, Jaehyun continued, we viewed this challenge as an excellent way to meet our new galactic neighbors, how they treat newcomers, and whether they possess the wisdom necessary for true partnership. The holographic display changed, showing a new set of images. These were communication logs, diplomatic messages, and formal requests. The data scrolled past too quickly for most observers to read, but the sheer volume was impressive. We are pleased to report that 6 species have already requested formal diplomatic relations with Earth. 3 of these are current members of the Hegemony Coalition. They wish to learn about our methods of colonization, our techniques for working with alien ecosystems, and our approaches to solving problems through cooperation. Representative Velinara of the Crystalline Consortium, her crystal body flashing with different colors, spoke up. Are you saying that you were testing us? In a way, yes, Jaehyun replied. Your challenge gave us the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities while observing. Your reactions. Dr. Choi Haijin, who had been the chief agricultural scientist during the Cathara Prime colonization, stepped forward. She was older now, her hair touched with gray, but her eyes were bright with enthusiasm. We have learned something important during our time on Cathara Prime, she said. The most advanced technology is not found in powerful weapons or complex machines. It is found in the willingness to work together, to adapt to new situations, and to see every challenge as a chance to learn and grow. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives turned to each other, speaking in their various languages. Some sounded excited, others worried, and a few seemed angry. Jaehyun waited for the noise to die down before continuing. We would like to extend an invitation to all species who are interested in learning new approaches to colonization and cooperation. Cathara Prime will soon host the first Interspecies Cooperation University. Classes will begin next year. The holographic display showed images of the proposed university, a beautiful complex of buildings that seemed to grow from the landscape itself. Surrounded by gardens where beings from different worlds could study together. We will teach sustainable colonization techniques, cooperative ecosystem management, and adaptive problem-solving methods. But more importantly, we will learn from each other. Every species has something valuable to contribute. As the session ended and the representatives began to file out of the chamber. Many of them were already talking excitedly about the implications of what they had heard. The hegemony's attempt to eliminate humanity had instead created a new center of learning and cooperation. Jae-hyun watched them go, thinking about how much had changed in 7 years. The aliens had set what they thought was a trap, but humanity had turned it into an invitation. They had issued what they believed was an impossible challenge, but humanity had made it the foundation for a new kind of galactic community. On Cathera, prime children who had been born on Earth now played with children from 6 different worlds, all of them learning together under alien suns. The death world had become a garden, and the test had become a teacher. The future among the stars looked brighter than ever before.